We're here today with Yasmin W and Alex Finan, captains of our Bear Creek Forensics team. Forensics here at Bear Creek is not what you might think it is. It's not going out and dissecting crime scenes. It's speech and debate. So our students get to debate one another, go to tournaments, stand up and do oratory and extemporaneous things that really sharpen their ability to be in front of people and to debate and understand ideas. I'd love to talk to you guys a little bit today about your experience on the forensics team. So why don't we start? Alex, why don't you start and tell us how long have you been on forensics and what attracted you to forensics? And Yasmin, same thing.
So I started forensics in 8th grade. The initial attraction was actually my brother was doing it, and I wanted to defend my right for the television channels, to be honest. It was more like a skill that I thought could be useful, could be fun. My brother was there, so there's some familiarity. But also, my brother would always destroy me in debates about which television channel to choose. So that was probably the biggest reason. But then my initial kind of experience with it led me to continue until senior year. So I've stuck with it since middle school, and really what kept me was more of a love of understanding other people's ideas. I like to think of discussions as a marketplace of ideas where every idea has validity, and so the ability to kind of work together with other students to think of valuable ideas that could benefit our community is very impactful. I feel like it has a lot of value for society in general.
Well, that's cool. So it started out really small and then grew into this idea of being part of the marketplace of ideas, which is a big
larger.
part. Yeah, that's great. Yasmin, how about for you?
I also started in 8th grade, so we have been on this journey together for 5 years now. And I initially got started in debate because my mom signed me up because she said I was so good at arguing at home that I had to put it forward to something else. And I got started in the speech side of forensics because my mom accidentally signed me up for my camp, so my mom was a huge part in this. And I continued through speech and debate all the way through senior year, again, because I felt like my ideas were heard and they were taken into account to something larger than myself. And I also started to see a change in myself after my year of 8th grade. My essays were so much better than they were before, and I started seeing all these skills that I could take from speech and debate and use in my life in scenarios where I couldn't before.
That's really neat. One of the things we talk about here at Bear Creek all the time is students of wisdom, compassion, and courage. And you guys, both of those stories, the courage part really is prominent, wanting to step out into the world, step out into the realm of ideas with a perspective and be prepared to do that. So that's super cool. So Yasmin, tell me a little bit about how you think you've grown, just as a person or grown in any other way in forensics.
I found my 8th grade year that I didn't feel my voice was really important. I was struggling through middle school to kind of see how much I could put out in the open and how much of myself I could share. And I always felt like I was part of a group. But then through speech and debate, I've found that my voice matters just as much as everyone else's, and I have the right to use my voice. And I think the only reason I came to that conclusion was through speech and debate. And so it makes me want to become a more outspoken person so that I can help more people in the community reach the same conclusion I have.
That's great. So it really grew your confidence and gave you a voice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Alex, tell me, what do you think academically? How has forensics shaped you or grown you in the academic world?
I think it's really about my understanding of more complex ideas that I'd never thought of before. There's a ton of debate topics throughout the year. I also compete in extemp, so I'm always searching through current events in the United States and other countries too. So it's grown my understanding of just like how the world works, complex things that I'd never really thought I'd be able to understand. But I think it really goes deeper. Those are some of the visible things that I've learned. It's more impacted the way I think. And like, as Yasmin said, essays, being able to think critically on the spot in discussions, crystallize my ideas, it's become so much easier to kind of say what I want to say, advocate for myself in the classroom.
Yeah, so similar. So bigger context, understanding you live in a bigger world, and there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of ideas, and the confidence to speak into both of those. Well, you guys have had a lot of success on forensics, so tell me a little bit about maybe, Yasmin, one of the challenges that you experienced in forensics and going through this journey.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I've faced through this journey is, sorry, this is a really difficult question to answer because I love speech and debate so much. I think just one of the biggest challenges I found is kind of becoming part of a team, but also having that individual realization and that individual success, because sometimes it's difficult to ground the fact that my success is due to my team, right? I have my skill set, but my team is what grows that. So sometimes it's difficult to kind of reconcile the fact that my team is where my heart is, but I'm also trying to go out and be successful for them by myself. And so I think that struggle has kind of kept with me, but I ground myself on the fact that I love my team, and it's why I'm in speech and debate.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn. That happens throughout our lives where we're struggling with the good of the team, the good of the individual, and those things do go together very much so. Alex, how about you? What's one of the things that's been a challenge for you in forensics?
I think the reason I really liked forensics in 8th grade was because I could win trophies. I think,
And the TV channel.
Yeah. Oh, that too, of course. It was something that I could use that would give me an immediate impact. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge I faced, because you can't win every debate round. And so as time passed, it became less about winning. It became less about like any achievement and more about trying to understand things to a greater depth, like trying to truly understand why this is the way this is, and also understand kind of how perspective plays into that, how other individuals can interpret the same thing differently. So I think probably the hardest thing for me was making that transition, moving from something that was fun because I was winning to something that was fun because I was growing as an individual and growing in my understanding.
Yeah, so actually losing help you to develop wisdom, help you to develop compassion for other people, different perspectives. Which is often how that works. So if someone was thinking about, Alex, if someone was thinking about doing forensics and they were maybe on the fence and they were teetering on, I'm not sure, what would you say to a prospective student who was considering doing forensics but wasn't quite sure?
I think with anything, with any activity that you're doing, jumping in and doing it is integral, because like not everyone's going to like forensics. It's just a fact of life that some people may prefer something else that maximizes their interest in another way, and that's okay. But I think a lot of people have this negative association that forensics is boring and it's not fun, and that's far from the truth. I think if you just jump in, try to experience it, go to a tournament, look through the massive amount of things you can do in forensics, which isn't only debating, but speaking and making friendships and relationships with other people that you would never have met, they'll find it interesting, and if they don't, at least they tried it.
At least they gave it a shot. Yasmin, what would you say?
So there are two main reasons that people join the speech and debate team, and that's they love public speaking and they're awesome at it, and they hate it and they're terrible at it, right? So we have people come to us who they may not have ever spoken in a classroom setting, but I think honestly there is something in speech and debate for everyone. And of course, like Alex said, not everyone's going to like it, but there's a dramatic aspect, so you can actually act out pieces. There's a public speaking aspect, there's a debate aspect, you can be part of a 2-member team, a 4-member team, or just yourself. I think that speech and debate is unique in that it's so dynamic, and you can literally just say, hey, this is what I want and this is what I like, and we'll say, great, there's an event for you. And that's true for, I think, anyone who's willing to try it.
So it's pretty broad, and you can get plugged into a niche or get plugged in all the way across the board.
And it's interesting because once you find your niche, sometimes you're kind of hesitant to go out of it, but the speech event that I've continued for 3 years now, I actually said, I will never compete in this. I hate it so much. And then here I am competing in it still. So I think that literally just kind of jumping full in and saying, I'm not so keen on this, but I know that I'm part of a larger community and they'll support me. Cool. That's what puts you through.
So thank you guys for joining us today. Really appreciate you showing our community what the forensics program at Bear Creek is all about sharing your perspective and how you've grown as individuals here at the Bear Creek School.